Minister, you're welcome to the House, and I congratulate you for bringing this bill forward. At the outset, I want to remark on the work of our library service for providing excellent briefing material on this. I want to also compliment the Joint Oireachtas Committee who sat and deliberated on this issue. And I want to remember those parents who adopted and fostered children. In many cases, in fact in most cases, they were not demons. They were genuine, decent people. But 50 years ago was the first time I encountered a young woman who was pregnant, who was being sent away in Galway. And I think about the weekends particularly now in my, I suppose, elder lemon years, when my three granddaughters, Ellie, Isabel and Alice, visit the house, and the joy and the pleasure I get out of watching them deliver their first word, taking their first steps, coming in and arguing with me now that they're a little bit older and putting me in my box. I love those moments. And how many children, how many mothers that went through this system we're talking about never had those moments. Never had a stupid grandfather buying them chocolate when he shouldn't, and stupid things like that. I grew up with a father who was extremely Victorian in many ways. And I remember his attitude to girls who fell pregnant. That's the way he would describe it in Galway. He used to say, "What's all the fuss about? They only did what was natural." That was his attitude, and yet he was Victorian. You couldn't mention sex in the house, in my house. My father would take off out the door like the clappers. He'd hear the word sex, and it was time to leave. But when he'd hear of a girl being pregnant, he'd say, "What's all the fuss about? She did nothing, only what was natural." But we created a society that, sadly, most in this room are too young to remember, that when a girl got pregnant, the father of the child took off to England or wherever he could go as far as he could go in order that he wouldn't be in any way associated with it. The girl in question would be sent off wherever. And we're dealing with mother and baby homes here. What we're not dealing with is the women who were sent to families to spend their time, their pregnancy with a family and delivered a child. And the moment the child was delivered, it was taken from them and put up for adoption, and they never heard or saw from that child again. Two people I know very well who went through that experience, both have great relationships now with the child they gave up 40 odd years ago. And it's great that that can happen. But when I look at the recommendations, and particularly the 6-month rule, why do we always have to put a date on a calendar for things? Why can't we just say, if you were born in that situation, if you served time in one of these God-forsaken mother and baby homes, you should be treated on an equal basis? The religious congregations, I get annoyed when I hear the religious being constantly pounded. 5% or 10% of the religious were bad people, the rest were bloody good people who did a great job in this country. But unfortunately, we farmed out the things we didn't want to touch. Mother and baby homes, industrial schools, we farmed them out, and we really didn't care what happened inside those areas, providing we didn't have to look in. And by the way, there were people who served in this house. There were professionals, doctors, nurses, teachers. They were all aware of what was going on in these institutions and places, and they did nothing. I had a woman contact me who spent time in Bessborough, and she told me, "I don't recognise what they talk about. I had a relatively easy time there." But the other side of that coin is I could find 10 women who would have a totally different story. So we have to be very careful. The boarded out scheme we're talking about there, the waiver should be removed from the scheme. The bottom line on it, Minister, there are, and all of us here are getting emails, countless emails over the last number of days. And I would think that maybe now, as legislators, what we should do is pause. Take a little time, get a few people working with yourself, Minister, improve the bill, make it a bill that is worthy of the people who were demonised in this country. I still think of the girls who left Galway they weren't just demonized by the system, they were demonized by the people. So they were demonized by the fathers who made them pregnant and bloody well walked away from them and left them with nothing. And it's always something that really annoys me, that a girl gets pregnant and she's demonized and called all sorts of bloody names, and the fathers who fathered those children, where are they? Has anybody ever seen a father to come forward and say, actually, I'm the father of a child and I left that poor woman destitute? Did anybody ever do that? No. So we as a society owe the women that. And you're looking at me, here, look, telling me my time is coming to an end.
I agree with you, though.
I would ask you, Minister, let sense prevail. My colleague Victor Boyan is correct. This is a revising house and we have an opportunity here to get this right. Senator Doherty has said it a few moments ago. Everybody that has spoken here today has said, let's pause for a moment. Let's get it right. Let's work together. You've done a fantastic job so far. Let's get it 100% right. And I think you have the courage to do that and I would ask you to do it. Thank you.
Oh my God.